Figure 1. Taking off the nuts on the front plate of the motor. Figure 3. Remove all the bolts from the back plate of the motor. Figure 4. Take off the back plate of the motor. Then this is what will be exposed. The plastic harness should slide out. Be careful not to pry it because the plastic is brittle and will break. Next, remove the 2 screws with a flathead screwdriver that are located on the front of the motor next to the crankshaft. After the 2 screws have been removed, you can then pull out the center of the motor that has the 2 bearings on it. Inspect the inside of the motor to be sure that there is no damage. To remove the bearings, put the bearing puller on the crankshaft as shown. Then slowly tighten the bearing puller down. The bearings should slide off. Do this to each bearing and inspect the bearings after you've completed this step. After pulling both bearings, be sure to inspect the crankshaft and this half of the motor. Also, be sure to inspect the plastic wiring harness and all the springs that are affiliated with it. This may cause your motor to not work if anything is broken. To put the bearings back on the crankshaft, heat them up to around 280 degrees Fahrenheit. Then slide them onto the crankshaft. The bearings should slide right on. If they get stuck halfway, pull them off and try again, but be sure that they are around 280 degrees before trying to put them on. Start by putting the motor back together. Put a screwdriver into the front plate slot and pull it off like so. Slide the center of the motor back into the motor housing. Push the front bearing into the front plate of the motor and then pull the metal ring up to the front of the motor where it will be screwed in with the 2 screws taken off earlier. When fastened, the finished product should look like this. You are now ready to slide the front plate of the motor back in place. Be sure that you line up all the screw holes before you put on the back plate. After the screw holes are lined up, then insert the plastic wiring harness. The finished product should look like so. Put the back plate of the motor on, then insert the bolts and tighten down the nuts.